it seems to be the case that the Bible suggests that if you don't believe in God, even if you lived a good life, you go to hell. And hell is described as not a nice place. So I was thinking about the most kind person I know that's lived her life to be unbelievable, passed away. She didn't believe. Does that mean she's in hell?
Well, we paint hell as something ogre-like. God stuffing and demon stuffing bodies into hell, when actually, I think Lewis got it right here, when he talks about this, that hell is absence of God and it's chosen.
I have seen a lot of powerful podcasts and interviews in my lifetime of 30 years, but I've never seen a interviewer or the host himself get transformed by the interviewer that he's interviewing. Maybe there are some other podcasts like that, but never before have I seen an interviewer like Steven Bartlett, who's a Diary of a CEO host from Britain and runs, a multi-million-dollar businesses and YouTube channel. But he was he's an agnostic atheist, but he was being transformed right in the middle of the conversation with triple PhD professor John Lennox. And I've never seen in the middle of a conversation between God and God's existence and why is there evil in the world, the host himself be like, you know what, you're almost making me to be a Christian or a believer, quoting what the Bible said when Paul was talking to the Roman leaders when he was captured by Rome in order to see Caesar because of his persecution for his Christian faith. And I'm telling you guys, this is one of the most amazing moments that I've seen of Steven Bartlett, who grew up Christian, but then left it completely and started pursuing business. Him asking a lot of deep questions that he was asking, but never really getting an answer. Now, he had people like Wesley Huff on who helped him a lot to know about the theology of Christianity and the gospel and about the reality of hell. But now John Lennox came on, who's like a teddy bear guy. He looks like Winnie the Pooh, and I want to hug him. But anyways, it's just a funny way of how he looks. But he's a really smart guy, but he's also very genuine. And he explained Christianity to Steven Bartlett in a way that showed Steven, man, this is you. There's a lot of peace in knowing Christ. And he even said it to John Lennox. And I want to show you guys what happens in a few of the powerful moments in this conversation, because I'm telling you guys, you will be blown away at how amazing this whole conversation panned out. I'm telling you, God is really reaching after Steven Bartlett. I've been praying for him a lot. I know he's had a lot of people who were into spirituality, and then Steven, and he had Wesley Huff, and that was amazing. And now John Lennox, who's much in terms of academically even smarter, and he's not a dummy, and he's explaining the truth of God's existence. And John Lennox debated Richard Dawkins, all these new atheists, and he really brought down the house when he was able to question their premises, because they always questioned Christianity, but he questioned their premises and where they were coming from. So check this out. This is the first part of what happens.
Was that globally, 91% of adults simply adopt and keep the religion they were raised in. Mm-hmm. And if a person is born into a Hindu or Muslim household, there is a 99% statistical probability they will remain in that faith. Only 1% switch out. And then the argument, I think it came from Dawkins or someone else, was that, is it fair that there's this birth lottery determining who ends up believing what, or theoretically getting into hell or heaven?
Yes.
Because if I was born in, Afghanistan, the probability says I'd probably be Muslim.
Yeah, well, I take that.
So God gave you an advantage in this context because he allowed you to be born in his all-knowing, all-understanding way, put you to be born in a place where you were likely to be Christian.
And it sounds to me as if he gave the same advantage to you. So the question is, what do we do with that privilege? Now, I know that there are hard problems round the edge here. There are really hard problems, not only where you're born and what you believe. This was the argument that Peter Singer advanced to me in a debate. I don't know whether you've heard about it. Peter Singer, the Princeton ethicist, who really was one of the new atheists, but not quite. Very famous for his views on dealing with the unborn and all the rest. Well, we had a debate in Australia.
Really quick, this was debate Peter Singer debated, and you guys should watch it. It's on YouTube. It was a pretty crazy debate because he was accusing, John Lennox of growing the Christian faith, which he had, but he said that you left your own Christian upbringing and became an atheist. So that kind of proves my point that no matter where you get brought up, you can seek after the real God and find them. Same thing that Paul said in the book of Acts.
And I started as my background. And when he got the chance to speak, he said, well, there goes my best objection to religion. People always stay in the religion in which they're brought up, you see. When I next got a chance to speak, I said, Peter, I told the audience about my Christian background, but you said nothing about yours. Now tell me, were your parents atheists? He said, they were. Oh, I said, then you remained in the faith in which you were brought up. Oh, but he said, it isn't a faith. And I said, Peter, I was convinced that you believed it. And it brought the house down, of course. The cyberspace went mad. And the point was made repeatedly all over the internet. Here's one of the world's top philosophers. He doesn't understand that his atheism is a belief system.
But the big point was that a lot of the atheists, and this is a very common argument I hear all the time on the internet, and it seems like, oh, slam dunk, Christianity is over, because we proved that you stay in the faith that you're born in. So the thing is that, yes, that's majorly true, but at the same time, there's also people who've left their faith, seen visions of Jesus. Even if you don't believe it, this is what happens to a lot of Muslims. There's people who are leaving Islam in Iran a lot of underground people, a lot of people who are like atheists and agnostics now in Iran, which we think is an Islamic nation through the government and culture. But there's people who are leaving and who are constantly being born and who leave their religion, just like people who become gay. They leave it once they find Jesus and they get, set straight, pun intended. And so the thing is though, that point doesn't disprove God, nor does it disprove whether the Bible is historically accurate and reliable. And that's the whole point that he was trying to make, that you can't really use that as a method of disproving Christianity, because there's always people who are going to be researching and find the truth, just like the atheists, just like the philosopher debated. That guy grew up in some sort of, Catholic Christian home, but he left it. So he made the point for John Lennox that you can leave your faith. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are basically stuck with that belief system. Okay, check out the second part.
Arguments for God that you've presented and your way of seeing the world and being is not actually necessarily anything you've written in your books, or not necessarily anything you've said. It is actually you, and you have a certain peace and contentment that I rarely see in people that I interview, but I often see, and I've almost always seen in the Christians that I've interviewed. And this is an interesting phenomenon for me. I interviewed Wesley Huff recently. Do you know Wesley Huff?
Yes.
He was the same.
That's amazing. He literally said that John Lennox's peace and his life, and you guys got to look at other podcast interviewers. They don't really have that peace that John Lennox carries or Wesley Huff. It's like a knowing that, I found the truth. And it doesn't mean you're prideful. It doesn't mean that you don't have problems, personal problems. We all do. But it means that there's a peace in your soul that you can tell. And even Steven Bartlett from the Dario Vasil podcast can tell that there's a peace about Christians, true Christians, with Wesley Huff and John Lennox and maybe a few other he interviewed. So there's a certain, like when Jesus said that when someone finds a field or a treasure, they bury the treasure in the field. And then they keep it safe, so it's kind of like that. It's like they've been searching, a lot of people, but then these people find the treasure and then they feel safe because they found the truth, not because religion is a crutch. No. John Lennox even explains that Christianity could be a crutch. The religion, you can be religious, try to be doing good works to merit God's favor, but in reality, that's not how it works. You don't merit God's favor. You rest in God's love. And so that's the point he's going to make about the peace that you have. You gotta find Jesus. Even if you have questions, you gotta try Jesus and see that he is good.
Canadian. Yeah. Wesley's a bright cookie.
Yeah, he gave me the same feeling as you, just like feels like a really happy person. Very sort of content, rounded,
there are many of us.
Yeah. But it seems to be a trend that, a lot of the Christian apologists that I've interviewed have that anchoring that so many of us are looking for.
There's a real sense of that. I sit in front of many people, and of course they often ask me questions I don't even understand, but in life, that peace is very important to me. And also what we started with. When I look at you, I see someone who's of infinite value, made in the image of God. And so what I say to you or think about you is hugely important to me. And I wish you well.
Thank you.
Isn't that brilliant? The best.
That was pretty awesome. I'm telling you guys, the way that he explained, like he cares about Stephen, this is the mark of a true, genuine, born again Christian. And I felt that myself. I don't know if you guys believe in Jesus or really know him as your Lord and Savior. I mean, he changed my life, and been following Jesus for close to 2 decades. And the older I get, of course, there's more responsibilities and issues that you have to deal with as an adult, but you also have this peace that a lot of people, 20s, 30s, and 40s, they don't have, because they're searching for the meaning, the deep meaning, but they can't find it, and therefore they're stuck, and they're kind of on a merry-go-round hamster wheel, and they don't have that peace with them. But John Lennox, says, yeah, that peace comes from Christ. And I also see you as somebody made in the image of God, and I want you to know Jesus. And that really touched Stephen. I mean, right in the podcast, it's like Stephen was feeling the presence of God. I don't think I've ever seen an interview, even with Wesley Huff. I saw certain people shift their theology or their beliefs on what Wesley Huff said. And Wesley has his own intellectual, academic, way he talks. But John Lennox has like this softness and this, I don't know, teddy bear softness, but not out of like fakeness, but out of genuine love for other people. Check out what else he said.
The word skeptic is a very interesting one. I regard myself as a skeptic, but in Greek, skeptai means to look at something from a distance. Now, if you are ever going to get to know a person, you've got to begin to give up your distance. You will know that from everyday life. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me one of the things to try to begin to grasp is God is not a proposition or a philosophy or even a religion. God is a person. And as a person, he has entered our world, however incredible that may seem. Although this is the irony of the Harari position, if I might just say it on the side. People come to me, as they've done, with their transhumanist agenda and say, we're going to solve the problem of death and we're going to increase human happiness. And I look at them and I smile and I say, you're too late. And they say, what? We haven't got there yet. I said, you're too late. What do you mean we're too late? Well, I said, the problem of physical death was solved when God raised Christ from the dead 20 centuries ago. And as for human happiness and uploading us into eternity, I'm waiting for the biggest uploading that's ever going to happen in history when Christ returns and raises me from the dead, because that is precisely what he promises. And it's most interesting watching people.
That's really amazing what he said. Did you realize what he said, guys? Because the whole push towards transhumanism is huge. All the tech bros and globalists really want to, create a transhumanist type of life. But the crazy thing is that John Lennox says, the problem of death has been solved, and the problem of happiness has been resolved, because Jesus 20 centuries ago proved that man doesn't have to stay dead and has everlasting life. And also happiness comes from believing, knowing that Jesus is going to upload me to a new body. And then which is true, the things that the Bible says, that we will get a new heaven, new earth, and new bodies. Paul talks about it in 1 Corinthians and in Revelation, we're going to have new bodies. And it says that because Jesus Christ rose from the dead, we have hope. And so because Jesus rose from the dead, we don't have to stay dead. We can actually be resurrected even in this life today when we have the Holy Spirit living in us. And that's what's amazing, what John Lennox said to Stephen.
And I say, isn't it fascinating that your transhumanism consists in humans reaching out to become little gods, whereas Christianity is the exact opposite. It talks about a God who became human so that he could give us life and give us a new relationship with him. What really completes the circle for me is that my relationship with God is a relationship which is based on the solution to the really hard problem. And that is the problem that I, by nature, have not always done good. And by my own standards, I've failed. Now, all this talk of transhumanism, AI, and everything else, what it's trying to do is to build paradise, utopia, without facing the problem of the damage that humans have caused to themselves and one another.
This is very true, guys. The whole promise of transhumanism is the promise of communism and all the isms. Even in some ways, capitalism, having all the material things in the world will solve your problems. It's the best system out of them all, but it's not going to solve your problems. And the thing is, transhumanism is using technology, saying that you will be uploaded into a new body, or your consciousness is going to live forever, to solve the problem of death. But the issue is that they all want to become gods without solving the biggest problem ever, which is the problem of evil. Because we have this beauty in us, around us, in nature, but we also have bombs around us where, nations are dropping bombs on each other. Russia and Ukraine, Israel, Iran and Israel, Israel and Lebanon, you have other countries in Africa, you have America dropping bombs in this country and that country. It's like beauty and bombs. How do you have those simultaneously? How do you solve that? How do you even have a world that's utopian? You either have to forcefully ban all guns and all wickedness and have a chip installed in someone's brain to make them not do bad things. Oh, wait, that's exactly what they want. Or you actually have the human heart being transformed one by one, city by city, and not by force, but free will and love. And so the thing is with transhumanism is it never solves the problem of human evil. All it does is it catapults it further by saying, okay, now you can become a cyborg or a transhuman, but in reality, you're still going to have the problem of evil desires, and you're going to have to try to create more laws to stop people from killing each other and using each other. So it doesn't solve the problem of human evil. This is his point.
Will not face the sin problem. Christianity, to me, doesn't compete with anything else, because Christ offers me something nobody else offers me. Nobody else offers me peace, the peace of knowing that I have real forgiveness, the peace of knowing that I have a friend and a companion to whom I can talk all the time. That's been so meaningful in my life, as I spell out in detail in my autobiography, and the peace of having been given a new life that will not end when I die. I'm 82 now. I'm probably more than twice as old as you are. As I look towards the future, I have in my heart.
Man, he doesn't even act like he's that old. He's such a hyper, person, like happy person. It's amazing. This is what Jesus does.
The certainty.
All right. Commercial. Okay, let's see. Let's see what he says next.
Interrogate whether it's real or it's true.
You're absolutely right. Why am I sitting in front of you talking about this stuff? Because I've interrogated myself about it and its truth for over 70 years. I've made myself totally vulnerable. That's why I got into all the debates with New Atheists and all the rest of it, because I want to be sure. But it won't come about by pressing a button. It will come about if you're open enough to say, God, I'm open, reveal yourself to me, and I'm prepared to take the steps that I feel are leading me onto solid ground. I do not believe that this is a process of taking a leap into the dark, but it's making a commitment on the basis of what you know already and taking a step further forward. And the interesting thing about this is the trust that's at the heart of everything. I trust my wife. I've been married to her for 58 years this year. It's evidence-based trust. Amazing. I don't trust her for no reason. And the same is true of my friends, as would be the case with you. Evidence-based trust in science and in Christian things. I don't regard myself as religious particularly. And the reason is this, and it's an important reason. Most religions prescribe a moral way that you try to follow, and you've teachers, gurus, imams, all the rest, priests. They keep you on the way, and then you come to a judgment at the end. And I usually draw a scale of justice. And if your good deeds tip over the bad deeds, then you get into whatever it is, heaven.
That's right. That's what all religions say. Your good deeds are going to tip over the bad deeds. Try to be all these, do all.
Nirvana, all the rest of that's religion. It's not Christianity, though many people think it is. Because if you ask them, are you a Christian? They say, well, I do my best and I hope that God will be kind.
Or I go to church. I'm a Christian. No, that's not what makes you a Christian.
In Christianity, it's the exact opposite of Christianity. That's a merit-based religion. And you see, the irony of all this is that we would never, or at least I don't know, some people might, but in a human relationship, we don't base our affection and relationship with someone on the basis of their merit. I have a little analogy I use that I've given my wife several cookbooks, but they're not the basis of the relationship. I'll go my own way and I'll try my best and hope that you will accept me. And the heart of the Christian message, which I believe is there, is that the trust is based on what someone else has done, what Christ has done, not what I have done. And that's what's given me the power. And as I said earlier, completed the circle and enabled me to live.
John has...
Yeah, guys, this is amazing. I mean, I just wanted to share some of the most powerful moments in that whole show because Stephen Bartlett started asking a lot of questions. What about hell? How can a good God send people to hell? And that's a really important thing. It's like, how can a good God send people to hell? But at the same time, John describes that there's an eternal God who gave us life here as a test, but we're also going to go into eternity with him or without him, and we all choose him or not. God doesn't force anyone to go to hell. We choose him, and after choosing him, God gives us the ability to decide, like to choose him, to follow him, the creator, or not. And so we all have free will. We all have free will to choose or not to choose. And so the reason why there's a hell is not because a good grandma, she did good and now she goes to hell. But why isn't that grandma good? Because she discovers the goodness of God as well. Because anyone who wants to be really good and righteous, they usually believe in God. Sure, there's some rare people who want to be altruistic and they're atheists, but most of the time they don't have a foundation for that. Why be even altruistic? And the thing is though, who God is to John Lennox and to me and all of us as Christians is he who suffered with us. He suffered and died for us. Even when Job was struggling and Job didn't know what was going on, God came in a whirlwind and showed his presence. He didn't explain to him the cosmic court drama that, the Satan or Hasatan was doing with God, trying to test Job and see whether he would give up his faith. But the thing is though, God was present. The same thing with Jesus. Jesus didn't just stop all the free will of evil in the Roman Empire. He actually came in and suffered for his people who rejected him. He could have offered them the kingdom at that moment if they accepted him, but they wanted to kill him. And so he came knowing that would happen, and his death is what actually flipped the tables against the enemy, against the one who held the keys of death because of our sin. And so the thing is though, it's taking the step forward. This is what John Lennox says. You have to take the step forward based on trust. And then if you don't know where to go next, you just keep going by faith. Just like when you trust, a girl to like you and you like her, you go on a date with her. You don't know whether she's going to leave you or not, but you keep going and then you keep dating. And then later on you get engaged and you trust that she's going to, or you're going to not cheat on her and you're going to get married. Then when you get married, you trust that you guys are going to raise a family and, go on adventures together, but you don't know the whole future. You don't know who she's going to be and you are, but you trust because of love. But with God, because God is trustworthy, he is faithful, he can't fail. Even though evil things in our lives show us that's like, why isn't God there? He is there, but we don't know what led up to certain things to happen or why God allows it. We don't know why there's evil, free will, demons, fallen angels affecting things. There's a lot of free wills working. But when we trust God that he is good and that he died for us on the cross and paid our sin debt and can actually transform us from the inside out, by resurrecting us from the dead, just like Jesus was, then we can take that first step of belief and trust. And then after that, God will reveal even more of himself. And that's the problem with the new atheists, is that the Bible's evil. The Bible's full of genocide, blah, blah, blah. I can't trust this God. And they can't trust anything or anybody really, except their own brains. But in reality, it's a sad state to be, because even your own brains, how can you trust it? Because it's random atoms and chemicals floating around. So the whole thing kind of falls upon itself. It's just based on you trusting yourself. But how far have you and I got ourselves in life? we're pretty much, we're right sometimes, but we're wrong a lot of times. And we need God to show us the truth, and that God is Jesus Christ. So I pray that this really encouraged you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about what happened with Steven Bartlett and how John Lennox affected him? What do you think about Jesus? What do you think about John Lennox? And I'd love to hear your thoughts. And by the way, subscribe to my Substack. I have a free Substack where I write a lot of cool articles. It's free for you. If you want to contribute to my channel, $5 a month, do so. It helps me stay in ministry and do this full time. And there's also other links, Patreon as well. You can join and see other videos that I can't release on YouTube or here, and other things where I want to connect with you as a community. I'd love to build a community here. So let me know. And there's also other stuff you can sign up for and find me somewhere else. But God bless you guys. And again, leave your thoughts down below. God bless.